Hi, this is Lynn Schnubley with Educating with Wisdom, and I'm actually the reason why President Trump stood outside of the church in June holding the Bible. I believe the deal was accepted by Mrs. Clinton as well as Trump, and I believe Congress would be interested. I'm actually the holdup for the elections, and I am the holdup on your stimulus deal. I'm the reset button. And I'm exactly what the clergy, especially the Brotherhood, didn't want. Let's start with the following. Last year, when I put my offer out for the 3-year moratorium that you could out what needed to happen to the various governments, there would be no reprisals and restitutions could be made, as well as the deal of the huge land exchange with China. I got hit like nobody's business by gay men, and I put it online, and many of them were occultists, and I mean witches and warlocks. I put this online. It had been happening for a long time, and to make a long story short, they were linked up to the Vatican. They are linked up to the all of your celibate, the Orthodox churches. They're also, it's the whole brotherhood thing, and we're just going to stop because there's a lot of information that came out about 120 years ago. Actually, they found out about 110 years ago. They now know that women have more DNA than men, between 3 and 5% more DNA than men. I turned that off. I tell you, it doesn't stop. It has a life of its own. So to make a long story short, there is a lot of lying that's been going on, but a lot of lying going into the text as well. And this is the text on which our entire symbolic structure is based on. So before I go in and I show you how I believe it is Pope Francis or either God handed off Fatima to me, to Guadalupe, which then prompted me a week later to go in, 10 days later to go in and whistleblow with the Republican office in West Palm Beach in 2016. And the next day, Mr. Comey came out and said Hillary Clinton's email server is still under investigation. Well, that's me too. So my work has been used in the U.S. military. It's been used since 2002, 2003. The Bushes used it. Obama used it. And what's important is that my stuff landed on Vice President Biden. Now, I have nothing per se. Mr. Biden is, the only reason why I voted for Obama was because Biden was in it, because I didn't think Obama should be in. But I had a problem with what was going on with Miss Palin. All right, let's get out of there. Let's come in to take a look at what so concerns everybody, because I want to make sure I get this out. Aside from the fact of all of the various miracles and they can see that they're getting punished by God, and this is something both Trump and the church recognize. All right. That is the reason why Epstein was picked out, because they were going to pick up on my deal to out everything. This is why Maxwell showed up, because they were going to out everything. This is why all of this was happening, and Prince Andrew and everyone was outed because they understood that they had this protection, that they could out what was going on so that they could protect everyone in the future. But there is this very occultist cabal that was not interested in doing this, and Elon Musk and a few others were part of it. So the question begs, when we look at Dr. Fauci, how could he predict when President Trump was first elected? He said, well, now President Trump has to plan on having a virus and a pandemic happen by the end of his administration. Well, how would Fauci know this? Well, you're going to see how Yang Xiang's HIV clinic at Yale is linked to Yang Xiang, the reporter who covered for CNN, the doctor who took selfies of himself when he was dying, and how that's related to HIV and gay people. Yeah. So let's come out of me, and I'm going to show you. Oh, I know what I needed to tell you. what really threw them was when they found out, really, that the church had lied to them, and they knew that, how nobody was really expecting Jesus to come back. And the Jews really weren't expecting a male because they were really expecting a female. That's what's really there in the Hebrew. Okay? It's going to be a female. And the daughter of Zion is not Jewish. That's a good thing. It's coming out of Ephesus. Great thing. Okay. But when you die now, because you blaspheme against the Holy Spirit, meaning you do exactly what you know to be wrong, and you do it all the time, that you have reached a level in terms of development where you're not going to Sheol, and there's no waiting period, but you will be reincarnated into some other animal form. Or if you go into space, we'll leave you with space. If you don't know if you're a male or a female, you're a transgender and you're lying about it, like Fiona Hill, you can come back as a worm. But you're not going to have the benefit of forgetfulness. Now I'm bartering for you to be able to make that restitution so that this is not a long-term solution for you, that restitutions and repentance can begin. And this is what prompted Epstein being picked up. It became very obvious in January of last year that this was in fact the case, and the Trump administration found out, which is when Dr. Lieberman was picked up. And then I put out the things about Yang Xiang on February the 10th. The Chinese then shut the American journalist out, Western journalist out, as they needed to do. And then it exploded with more information on my part in May. So you have break-ins of them coming into my tapings, communicating, which is very interesting. And they accepted the Hillary Clinton as co-president and Gibbard as a vice president. So let's come out of me and just take a look at some important things. What you're seeing here is the Göbekli Tepe, and this is the vulture. These are your 3 levels of, this is what I recognized. These are your judgments and where you go into the various judgments. Now you're going to see in some there are snakes trying to get around it. There are also some that reach in, pull the soul out, and then you come in as a different form of a life. Remember, these are not people that are fully alive. In order to be fully alive, you have to be agriculturalist. You have to know to wear clothes, to be modest. And you have to be monogamous. And you have to be matrilocal. And this is stated 5 times in the Bible. Once in Genesis, 3 times in the New Testament, both by Paul, twice in the Gospels. And even though they've been reworked, they've been very careful to keep that included. And matrilocality actually protects everybody. And it sets up social services. Now, when I mean matrilocality, I don't mean you move in with her mother. I mean that you live within an area that helps to support everybody, and it means that you don't spend your money in weapons, you don't spend your money in prostitution, you don't spend your money in pornography. You don't have money for this. And Jesus and everybody else is telling you to cover up. So this goes back to the Göbekli Tepe, and in fact the oldest agricultural research station to date was found in Galilee, and it's about 23,000 years old. And you can tell that this is an agricultural research station. So these people came down, and as the Bible said, before the Greeks got their nasty hands on it, and God let me know that it was the Greeks and the Phoenicians, the Thracians, who were polygamists. They roamed, they were violent. Every time you see wine coming in, new viticulture, it's them. The Abora, which are the Hebrews, the Iporo, the Moesians, the Dacians, the Thracians, they're all there. And they hook up then with low Africans. But let's come out of me So you're going to see this now in Egypt. Here he is covering up. The snakes, if you try to get up other than the right way, you can't get up and the snakes will keep you down. You have to really go in and see this for yourselves. So let me scroll up because then you're going to see some pretty, oh, Queen Elizabeth is, and they know this, so they're waiting for me to do it. They are, and it's in my records already. That is the phoenix they're waiting for. So let's take a look at the Göbekli Tepe. And here she knows not to be spreading her legs and to act like a fool, leaning over, doing all kinds of things. She's covering herself up and things are closed here. He is covering himself up. And by the way, I've seen this figure a few times. All right, not this figure, but also this face. And this is a star brother. So this is important. This is the issue of modesty. Now, what is also important from an American perspective, here we go. Oh, by the way, Elon Musk, June the 28th, Tesla, June the 28th, and Henry VIII, June the 28th. And I will speak about reincarnation. Here is this vulture, the same griffin vulture that you saw on top. This is what they say, the American, the Egyptian hawk Horus, except it's actually Horian. Every time you see a W or a U, .W or U in Egyptian, it is plural, masculine plural. So you're actually, the American is actually going to come to me, the Horian. So you're going to drastically change what you're doing. Here we go. And here's another example of it. So you can understand how clergy and the Apollo worshippers and all of that. All right. So the Aparu are actually across the ocean and they're Thracian. Here we go. The W or U vowel, quick click being used as an Egyptian plural suffix. There we go. All right. No, actually, the Ebros, they're wrong about that because Ebros and Abros are actually Evros, not this group. They're actually Evros, and that is a different group. Those are called the he-goats. The Thracians call them the he-goats. So, HR, this is the oldest, showing that meant that they lived up and far away. They brought the agriculture in the area, and now they lived up and far away. They weren't a god, but they were god-like because they brought all these great things. So everyone who claimed to be a Horu, a Horian, was not necessarily a Horian anymore because the Horians knew how to behave themselves, but the Egyptians lost the ability to do this. Which means everything about your Isis cult, your Apollic cults, all of it. In fact, Apollo actually comes from the Semitic, which means air. So all of this is wrong. Now there is a knock-in that's there, that is correct. So let's come down and see then where we're going to look at another one. And here we go. This is another big one. The Rahim, the vulture. Now, that vulture was the griffin bird, and that Rahim, was used for hobbit. Let's hold on to this. Rahim in Hebrew means uterus, and it's masculine. You want to talk about misogyny, it doesn't get worse. Except uterus in Latin is masculine as well. Nachabit, take that off right there. Nach is something else. Hobbit is the vulture. Haba is the major goddess of the Alatonian. She's the goddess over heaven, the living goddess, okay? The one who is also the major deliverer. So that is discussed in Micah 4, Micah 5, and it's discussed in Isaiah 62. And her rule, her understanding of the Hurrians will end up there. There you go. Let's take a look at, let's see if I can close out of here. Let's put you on pause. I'm going to show you something from Genesis 17, and it's going to tell you that everything that is of Abraham, and the name has been erroneously changed. It was actually the Obrim for the goat people, for the Abrim, and it's changed because that's discussed in Isaiah 14. That's how I know that. But this is now in 17, it says your name is now going to be changed. And it's going to become Ava Rahim, Av Rahim, which means progenitors, not just fathers, progenitors of Iman, Goyim. So he is just the progenitors of the satanic Iman, Goyim, the nation of Imans, the Goyim. And Sarah goes on and becomes, from her, is king of people. So the people on top are just animalistic Goyim, the men coming out of it, the people coming out of it, from the Abraham. And you're going to see this. And it's Sarah, because she's Hurrian, that has the real people. Here we go. And there's a daughter. And I am increasing, this is actually sign Avet, and I am actually increasing sign Avet in exceedingly. Now this makes no sense. And he is falling Abram, it's actually Obrim, on faces of him. Why would he be falling on faces of him? Or my face of him? Makes no sense. And he is speaking with him, that's true. It's actually, he is speaking, sign him. Elohim, it's Alahim, that's feminine, with masculine ending, to say, and behold, covenant of me, that's true. Covenant of me, sign you, and you become to father or progenitor, there's no of here, and you become to father Iman Goyim. So the only thing that comes out of that, Abram, and here he is now, Ab Rahim, is Goyim. Iman's Goyim. Diabolical nations, diabolical believers. That's it. That's the only thing that comes out of him. There we go. The Old Testament and the New Testament warns you about the prophets, some of the prophets, false prophets, and about the priest, clergy. Jesus warns you, they warn you. Micah warns you, Amos warns you. Now let's go down and see what they say about Sarah. And God said unto Abraham, as for Sarai, which means my noble woman, and God, he is saying Elohim, and it's actually, it could be, and she is saying Elohim, because it's mostly feminine, to Abraham's, to Ab's uterus, Sarai, woman of you, which means my noble woman, woman of you, not you shall call, sign, name of her, my noble woman, that Sarah name of her. So literally God is saying, you can't own her. You're not going to mock her, you can't sell her. He sells her again. And you can't own her. Then he goes on to say, and I bless, sign her, and moreover, I give super. This means a super, this double M means emphatic. And I give from her to you son. And in fact, she has a son without intercourse with Abraham. She doesn't have intercourse with anybody. Isaac is immaculate. And I bless her, and she becomes to Goyim, to the pagan nations, and she becomes to Goyim my king, that's not no of, my king, peoples, emphatically, from her they shall become. So, from this false Abraham who only produces Goyim for the demonic creature, the goat, or the, I should say, the ram creature of Amen, and that's Amen, and that's Amen Zeus. That's why it's got the ram horns. That's Amen, okay? So, and she becomes to the Goyim my king, peoples from her they shall become. So I'm laying claim to Sarah's claim as Zion. And Zion is actually the Z of the Carian and the Hurrian and the Hattian. And he is saying Abraham. Now it gets really more interesting because it isn't just a son that's going to be born. It's going to be a daughter. And they word it very badly. He says, to a son of 100-year-old he shall be born. And if Sarah, the daughter of 90, she shall be given birth. This is why the church knew I was coming, and they knew I was coming. And they took everything. But the miracles abounded. Your hurricanes, your fires, your Max 37, which alerted as to how Obama is involved in this. Yeah. Let's go into the last miracle. I'm just going to show you one. This is what prompted me to call. So let's put me on pause. I just plugged in my Seagate. This is from my old computer that they broke down, and then October the 31st, 2018, they broke into my car and stole my other computer while I was getting it ready. This was done, right here. It tells you when it was done. Okay? So Fatima gives to Guadalupe. My church was going to be celebrating Fatima for the 100 years. And when I went in to look it up, because I didn't know what it meant, and my birthday's December the 12th, by the way. And I have two Master 11s, Lynn Schnebley, December 12th, 1958. Lynn is a 2. My mother is July the 10th. My son is July the 11th, and he weighed 7 pounds 11 ounces. And my daughter was born 11 days later, although she was due on the 5th like her brother, and 5 years difference. And she weighed 8 pounds 11 ounces. So I carry them in my entire numerology. And to make a long story short, if you see Bishop Conley versus Bishop Coney, and it says December the 12th, and yet 2016, and yet I did it on the 10th. So let's do the short version, because I have the long version that's already in there. And let's just do this. This is what I said Fatima gives the deal to Guadalupe. Fatima.
December 12th, 2016. When did he actually write it?
I don't know why. Oh, here we go. I think I have to make this smaller so we can hear it. Definitely. Let's go back. Now you're going to see what happens. So it says December the 12th, and then when you hit read more, it says October the 12th.
Here we go. Call for Valley School.
Doesn't stop.
December 12th, 2016. When did he actually write it? Let's go down to dash loaded. On October 12th, 2016.
Okay, so what happened with this is I thought, oh my God, they know I'm here. Well, I'm going to have to do something with my records, the Biden records, and then records that I think that I know regarding the military and the war, and that I know that Obama got, and I'm pretty sure Clinton got, and I know that the Zionists are involved all over the place in this election because of the Clintons and Trump. Both daughters had to marry men whose fathers had gone to jail, and it just reeked so badly. I mean, the whole thing was so bad. But what I saw was that I had been hit so badly from Obama. It's really hit, and I'm sure Biden knows about it, and he would love to talk about it. I'm sure he would. And so I'm extending that out to you. And it has to happen because you don't want to go through several lives as an animal because of what you've done today. The judgment occurred by the summer, by July of 2018, but I'm hoping to get this out there too. And Trump is hoping, and Biden is hoping, and they're all hoping to be able to turn this, which is why we're having such a hard time with this election and with the stimulus. Everything else is a setup. So let's come out of this for a moment. Again, let's come out of this and this. I'm just going to put us on pause. Okay, we're going to take a look at this whistleblow for a moment. So it was after that 17th event that I then went to West Palm Beach and showed them my records. I've gone to the Russians. I went in the summer of 2017. I contacted them. Here's the Tom McGuire work. Notice Tom shows up here. Well, as I'm doing a search for male in Greek, and it comes up with Tom. They want the Tom work. They want the Chelsea Gibbard work. They want to see what's going on there. But I'd like to show you the following. Regarding this, if we can discuss President Trump and the Clintons, clergy, Epstein, Prince Andrew, why can't the media point this out? And this person is a real psychopath. So using statements of having a woman's emotion, he used women and testified against President Trump. No one discussed the psychopathy of this man who walked into the impeachment hearings in a dress, flashing an erection, a 5 o'clock shadow, and talking about being a woman. Sin of omission, treason, where does one begin? And he drags along the LGBTQ brigade. Why would President Trump, who has evangelical and conservative support, have a psychopathic drag queen as this country's National Security Council Senior Director for Europe and Russia, serving 2017 through 2019? Why didn't Russia or the media say anything? Why didn't the religious groups say anything? Well, people have their fingers on the nuclear weapons. Folks, this is unreal. And I did a video on it, and he felt like my former husband, which is why we discussed it. Right, that's not good. Okay, what is that all about? There he is again. Right. Now, something is really wonky here. Very wonky. Extremely wonky. And this is too lumpy bumpy to be real. It's very wonky. It's not a dress hanging because it has its own silhouette. It's not a fold in the dress. A fold in the dress would just not have this rounded thing showing. See, you wouldn't have in a fold in the dress, you wouldn't have this kind of thing showing. Something is not right going on here. And I have a few of these, and the press does not discuss it. All the Somalians have an increase. Gay men have more rights, but Somalian women are getting more clitorectomies and genital mutilations. The sin of omission we're talking about. Let's go in and just talk about the Grimes, who predicts that we're all going to be wearing a mask and then starts shooting. And the place that actually starts taking the pictures of the shooting is Dragon Walk, as he's putting the dragon up. There we go. This is in January. Nobody else is wearing a mask, but she is, just for the fun of it. She has a dragon in her uterus. Dissociative response, can't really be pregnant. You should hear the demonic stuff coming out as they get ready to get rid of you. Dr. Yang Xiang Lab, CNN needs to be brought up on charges of terrorism. Yang Xiang, nectar gone, there's no more nectar. Yang Xiang, on February the 4th, I knew something was wrong because the Chinese government is not going to let him take selfies. And sure enough, when I looked up Yang Xiang, there's virtually no history of him being a journalist before this went on. It's all about this. And I guess the gentleman who helped locate and did initial research on HIV and AIDS in the 1980s and 1990s said that this virus has markers from HIV and malaria, which means it's man-made, and they will come up with more man-made. And I got a shot last year that left particles all in my arm. Oh, really? Look at this, Yang Xiang. I mean, I'm telling you, they are terrorist groups. This is horrible. And they're gay. And it's international terrorism. You know, there's just something not right. I'm going to show you a few things. No, it's not right in here, and I can tell from the expression. Remember the man, the Star brother at Göbekli Tepe, he was hands folded, being modest. She's holding on, smirking, or he's holding. I don't know what's going on here. This is not normal. It's not a normal lay of anything. There's nothing normal here. And I have a tummy. This is not normal. It's not normal. Folks, this is not normal. This is completely photoshopped. The leg is not turned out right. The arms don't meet. The whole lighting is wrong. The kids are all photoshopped in. The whole thing is just photoshopped. This is photoshopped. The faces are all cut out and put in there. It's all ridiculous. Why do you have to photoshop these things? Why do you have to make up that you had a pregnancy when these are clearly the mother and father? Clearly. And so and by the way, this is my grandfather, my maternal father, and my grandmother, sexy grandma, the 70th wedding anniversary. I had reddish hair. These are my two children when they were young. We're in Germany at that time. And that's my grandfather, was Sicilian. He used to get beat up all the time, and my grandfather is darker than right. That's right. Yeah. I got into more trouble fighting for African American kids that Obama did nothing for. And Gibbard would have done more. Okay, I think I have to say now goodbye. Oh, wait a minute. It was kill Whitey. That's what's wrong about this whole scenario. Kill white women. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. all 7 leaders in World War II from this area were all Sagittarians. So when I showed my work on October the 27th, here we go, on October
New
the
messages received from 8822.
on October the 27th. I keep turning my phone off. On October the 27th, 2016, Comey is also a Sagittarian. I didn't all call out for Sagittarians, just as they had done so 10 days earlier with the Phantom. And so Comey opened up his mouth and said Hillary Clinton is still under investigation, and that's why Trump lost. Just in passing, a discussion with African American people. His grandfather owned slaves, captured slaves, and sold slaves. Okay? If for some reason Michelle Obama has a Y chromosome in a penis, whoever married them did so illegally in the 1990s. And that's, I don't know, what is it, sedition and treason? If he's not an American citizen, that's sedition for him. If she is an American citizen, or he is an American citizen and did that, that's treason for her. And my grandfather is darker. And his grandfather had slaves, and Ethiopia has one of the highest incidences of not just still slavery, but female genital mutilation. All right, Africans, you want to go back to that, ladies? And he's just in the country drumming up problems. Part of the Lion of Judah movement. This person has got like a mask on, false hair going on. Don't ask me. If this person had a PhD in psychology and 2 degrees in English and literature, that person should be, if this person had any of those things, had a PhD in psychology, as well as a real PhD, Meghan Markle has, look at this, it looks like a linebacker. That's a real neck. This has all kinds of weird things, and I've seen interviews, all kinds of weird things going on here. Now, if Mary Trump had a PhD in psychology and had an undergraduate degree in literature and another master's degree in literature, Mary Trump would be published and would be doing preceding papers, and the LGBTQ would be up and running with her. When I did this online and I went through and took photos of it, there was virtually nothing. This whole thing is a sham. So that means ABC News, is this like CNN? Are they all treasonous? Are all these newscasters engaging in treason and election manipulation? Are they all engaged in treason and election manipulation? Because I already know that we have agents in Canada and in Europe that are working against decent people globally. Don't you get tired of this? I do. Bye.
Call from
Good night.
Broward E School.
I better say good night. Bye.